we come to the last session before lunch, and this is on best and the next practices of smart cities across India. We have I would like to invite Mr. G.T. Bhutia, Secretary, Urban Development and Housing Department, Government of Sikkim. Dr. B.L. Jatavat, Executive Director, Rajasthan Urban Drinking Water, Sewage and Infrastructure Corporation. Shri Nitin Budairia, Commissioner, Dehradun Municipal Corporation. And Shri Naveen Rai, the Joint Chief Architect cum Town Planner, Urban Development and Housing Department, Government of Sikkim. On the dais, please.
If you see this is India data we have collected. From November 2015 till February this year, the attacks have grown many-fold. In fact, 292 times what we have seen, the attacks are growing. Almost of all the attacks that we are seeing in India, 70% are ransomware alone. When we talk about ransomware, what exactly it is, what it does. So I'll give a 1-minute brief on ransomware. There are 3 types of ransomware. Encryption ransomware, which is becoming very common. What it does, an attacker sends you a file, could be a document, Adobe, PDF, could be Flash, could be any file, Office, PPT, Excel. You just open that document. What it does at the background, it starts encrypting all your files on the computer. Any connected device, be your phone, be a pen drive, be a server, network share, everything starts encrypting. Only in a matter of minutes, the entire network, everything gets encrypted. And mathematically, there is no way you can decrypt it. Even with quantum computers, the only way to decrypt it is to have the key which is used to encrypt it. The key is with the attacker. And then attacker will held you at ransom now to provide him money so that he will then give you the key. Sometimes even after paying, they will not give the key back. And there is no reliable way of recovering the data. So the entire data that you have, which you have collected over the years, is gone. The other is lock screen ransomware, which is technically less severe, because if you are hit by a lock screen ransomware, there are technical ways and means in which you can recover the data. The data is not encrypted, only the path to data is blocked. So you can recover that data. So it's important to understand when an attack happens, what kind of attack it is. The one that was that happened against Mantralaya was which cannot be recovered. It's an encryption attack. You can only minimize the data damage further, but you cannot recover what has gone. The third one is master boot record, that is on decline. Again, a not very dangerous one. So if any organization gets infected by a ransomware, you should know which category it belongs to. If it belongs to category 2 and 3, then you are still okay, you can still recover. If it's category 1, you should only stop further damage rather than thinking about how to recover that data, because that's not possible. Why this is happening these days? Why the attacks are on so much rise? Why? Since you have already invested in so much security, a lot of organizations I have seen, the names you have seen, they have already invested in security technologies. Even then they are getting attacked. And it's not the small organization, it's governments, big organization, everyone is under attack. The reason being, all these technologies you would be familiar with, firewalls, IPS, email security systems, gateways. There's one thing common in all of them. They are all signature based. That means they should know about the attack beforehand. They should know about the malware beforehand. They should have the signature, only then they can protect you against it. The attacks that we are talking about today, the ransomware, the advanced attacks, they have not been seen before. They are very targeted in nature. You are the first one to get targeted. And since you are the first one to get targeted, they are unknown. And these technologies cannot protect you against unknown attacks, also known as zero-day attacks in our parlance and technical words. So if you are hit with an unknown attack, none of these technologies can withstand that kind of attack. Can you today answer these questions? Are we breached? It's very important. I ask a lot of organizations. In fact, there was a survey, and top banks in India, top organizations in India, they cannot answer, even the telecoms. Have you been breached? Maybe yes, maybe not. There is no definitive answer. There is no way to check that. How will I know when a breach happens? Okay, somebody targets me. Can I predict it? No, maybe. How will I respond when a breach is identified? Very difficult. 97 organizations were surveyed by E&Y in February 2016. What will happen, what they will do if they get breached? The CIOs, the C-level people, didn't have an answer. They didn't know what process to be followed once they get breached, because we all wait till that event, and once that happens, we don't know what to do. How will I know everything that happened? What will I do better next time? How do we prevent repeat attacks? Whenever we are creating a smart city project, we should have answers to all these. We should be prepared for the worst. At least how will we react to those situations if they occur? Israelis are very good at it. Before they embark on a project, they think about it. And we should also do that. That's my recommendation. There are technologies available, and FireEye has one which can help detect unknown attacks. They're the only organization that invented this technology. We have a patent around it, and it can help you detect the unknown attacks. The knowns can be taken care of by the existing technology. What about unknown ones? We are the ones that can help you detect that. It's a signature-less technology. What I have seen, I've been working with government for the last 10 years or so. What I've seen, there's always a skill set issue. No matter which technology, which product you buy, we are not able to make use of that technology or product because most of the time we do not have that skill set. There is rotation, the SI is going, the skill set that's not available in the market. And we are at the mercy of OEMs to help us configure those systems. But they need tuning every now and then. So what FireEye has done, they have created a technology which doesn't require tuning. And that's a big advantage because you just plug it and you let it run for you. A cyber-secure smart city needs to be designed from inception with cybersecurity. It should not be an afterthought. It should be designed with cybersecurity in mind from day one. At the DPR level, you should be able to take care of cybersecurity. Privacy, integrity, compliance, reliability, resilience, all should be built from day one. Remember, you have to be lucky every time against the attacker, but they have to be lucky only once. It's not a level playing field. The last thing I would like to say here is, we are offering this service for anyone present here if they want to utilize, free of cost, no strings attached. We can come and demonstrate or assess your network to see whether they can sustain any low, medium or advanced attack. And we can do that study with you, assessment with you. We can give you the report, and then if you think you require assistance, we can then come forward and provide you assistance. Even if you don't take assistance, you should be knowing your current state today. And we are there to help you in this journey. We want smart cities to function securely. And we are there to help you in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vipul, for giving your perspective from FireEye for an opportunity of smart cities. May I now invite Mr. G.T. Bhutia, Secretary, Urban Development and Housing Department, Government of Sikkim, to kindly come and deliver his perspectives and vision for smart cities across the country. Your presentation?
No, mine will come. A very good afternoon to everyone present here. Yes, I represent Sikkim. So at the outset, I would like to say something about Sikkim. It is a small state nestled in the lap of the Himalayas with a total area of 7096 square kilometers and 6.1 lakh of population. Sikkim is bounded by 3 international borders. We have China in the north, Nepal in the west, Bhutan in the east, and in the south we have the state of West Bengal. Sikkim, till the year 1975, was a kingdom. It was ruled by the then Chogyal, the Maharaja of Sikkim. And only in 1975, we joined the Indian Union through a referendum and became the 22nd state of India. As of today, it would be my pleasure and pride to introduce Sikkim to you as the first organic state of the country. The Honorable Prime Minister himself visited Sikkim to make this declaration. Apart from this, the capital city Gangtok of Sikkim, Gangtok, was just the cleanest hill station city. So these are some of the achievements that we have made. Now coming to today's this burning topic of smart cities. Well, as you all know, the smart city mission was launched last year on 25th June. Since then, much exercise has gone into making the challenge a success. Like the other states, we also carried out the procedure of having the first round of challenge among the municipalities and the ULBs, and then later on to the Government of India and the Ministry of Government of India. Well, 20 cities were selected in the first round. We did not figure. Yeah, and for your information, when Sikkim, in Sikkim we did not project Gangtok, but we projected the second largest populated town called Namchi in South Sikkim to be turned into a smart city. So after the 20 cities were declared selected, they were again further, the second round, there were 22 cities upgraded on a fast track mode. We did figure in that list also. But unfortunately, only 13 cities got selected this time, and we figured in the 14th. We later checked the results, and Faridabad, I think, came the 13th, had aggregate total aggregate percentage of 54%, and we had 53%. So we missed the challenge, the selection by a whisker. As you realize now that we have a lot of challenge ahead, and a lot of hard work to do also. So today I have come with my whole contingent, primarily to listen and not to speak more, because here we are yet to learn. In fact, we want to listen to you, get your innovative ideas, listen to your smart solutions, your best practices, and how we can adopt in our improvement of the smart city proposal. Now to share our own experience, ladies and gentlemen, I would request my Mr. Naveen Rai, who is my Joint Chief Architect. He is also the nodal officer for the Smart City Mission. So I would like to ask him to give his presentation. Thank you.
Very good afternoon, everyone. honorable panelists at the dais and distinguished guests of the dais. Over the few minutes, I would like to quick run through my perspective as an urban planner and being a very part of the smart city plan preparation team since last year, and share my experiences and a way forward, and what will they take away from this knowledge sharing, knowledge exchange program like this. And I think I might, my perspective might be different from the real IT-enabled, their perspective. Then being a planner, I see things very differently, right? In the ever-changing world of virtual reality, see, smart, the connotation by smart directly has with the how much you are IT savvy, how much you are leveraging the IT-enabled devices in order to make your life easier. But in the context of smart city, apart from the ICT-based technology, leveraging its potential to increase the efficiency of the urban governance and service delivery, actually, it is also the smart growth, which means that optimization of the existing land resources, which is very limited in terms of, in case of a place like ours, where we have only 7% of the habitable areas, and rest of the areas are either more than 75 is the forest coverage. At the same time, rest are either physical infrastructure or land not fit for the, building a built-up areas. So, in the outset, likely say, therefore, IT is just an enabler, but definitely not the means to an end. And at the end of the day, its bottom line is for all the industry and the, business-oriented establishment, the business matters. So in this context, I like to start my presentation. So this is a quick run through this urbanized scenario in the country, how it is right now and how it is going to be over by the period of 2020. Even though we are very slow in the urbanization comparatively with the world, but still by 2020, 70% of the total population in the world will live in India. We will be totally young and enterprising, maybe skilled. At the same time, this is a driving factor for our country. At the same time, we are part of it. And in this ever-changing, growing urbanization in the process, these are the threats and these are the area of concern, like traffic congestions, power, and everything is supplemented by the average cost in terms of billion per year. And power, the water consumption, there will be water stress areas due to climate change and other anthropological interference, and healthcare, requirement of healthcare. And see, you can see there's at this moment, relatively, there's one doctor for every 1,700 people, which is very sad. And these are the, as per the mission guidelines, these are the smart city attributes, which we say smart IT communication, and everything is smart. Smart environment, smart transportation, which will be, which will have a smart traffic designs, urban designs, at the same time, fleet management systems, smart buildings, which will be energy efficient, smart energy, and the other way, how we are going to make this thing into reality. The finance really matters. So in this way, the outlay is this is initial projection by the government is $350 million US, and which central funding will be 165, and 50% will in first year will be given to the selected smart cities. At the same time, rest of the money will come from the PPP mode or the contribution from the state government, ULBs, or by means of borrowings. So these are some few existing smart concepts that has already been adopted, or it's in functional in our country, like Ghaziabad, the smart energy, And like Chennai, they have a smart Sankar Nethralaya. It's a private healthcare system, but they are adopted a smart health system where everything is ICT based, and TCS is enabling their technology. Likewise, anyway, all this IT is one of the important area where actually it's everything will be managed by the IT-based one. It's the core of the smart city. Apart from that real third dimension, which is human and which is a physical infrastructure of the city. But anyway, this is when you adopt this IT-based system, which will enable efficient running of the governance. At the same time, it will add value to the service. At the same time, it will ensure cost saving, revenue generation, increase revenue generation, and sustainability. That way, you can quantify within a second how much you are achieving and what is your benchmark. And so this is how it was envisaged. Like this is quite different from what was envisaged at the mission at the beginning during its launching. So now it is how it is going on right at this moment. The selection level it was launched, as a search said, that's 2015. After that, 20 cities were selected in the first round, and suddenly there's 13 fast-track city lists were out. We were one of them, and we couldn't make it that well. So again, 67 is yet to be selected, and that will be in the 30th of June. So this is the table below shows that how the each cities were allocated and how it was done and what are the parameters and the thing. And this is key entities which like what are the central governments that are working towards their smart cities. There are so many technology vendors, foreign countries like the association, government-owned bodies, real estate developer. And their main core area, focus area is a scope and core area for the smart city projects is like smart transportation, basically smart governments, how they can help to achieve the efficiency or enhance efficiency in the urban local bodies by helping with the technology. And at the same time, it's like there are already the work is going on, and lots of companies already working with so many urban local bodies and the state government. It's all a multinational. So these are the infrastructure players where they can really come in sectors, governance, environment, IT and communication, smart transportation, health. As usual, there are 4 or 5 cities which are already adopted and working well with they have adopted quite fairly with the IT-enabled ecosystem. These are the role, how they can help in policy advocacy, facilitator, and the leadership. They're actually enhancing the capacity of the urban local bodies. And these are the already, foreign countries which they have shown the interest. In fact, they have already started working on the projects like US, Spain. They have already working, and they have adopted 2-3 cities like US. They have adopted like Ajmer, Allahabad, and Visakhapatnam to be developed as smart cities. They are quite parallel working with the smart city mission of Government of India. And this is how the smart cities actually strategies of the government. Smart cities is going to be a successful. Allocate funds, competency to create a conducive environment for the investor-friendly and favorable policies, and at the same time maintaining service level benchmark with the best practices. And these are the main core 4 areas where actually government is looking at in the smart city. So this is another actually recommended strategies for the tech companies, IT or the infrastructure-based companies. So what are their opportunities? They can give share the ideas, track upcoming city. They can track it, they can identify, and they can motivate, they can bring in people together. And this kind of forum, like LTS, which they've conducted in this JW Merit, will be the right kind of forum to bring the policy makers and the companies together, exchange ideas, and take this forward. So this is actually, I'll give some brief idea about like the smart cities, which is included in the 100 list of the cities to be developed as smart cities. It's one of the second largest cities in the, in the state of Sikkim. and it has a population base of, see, if I go by the census as per the standard Government of India norms, so it had a population of 12,000 in the year of 2010, and maybe if you go by the ratio, there must be around 18,000 population, but we have a huge number of floating population. It's more than 30,000 per day. And these are the few attributes of the cities in terms of tourism, regional settings. It is one of the destinations in the region in terms of pilgrimage. At the same time, because of the proximity. So these are the area. These are the few things which we have been thinking. Basically, this tourist interest of tourists for the thing, and primary, apart from the primary economy, like we are basically based. Our economy is based on the secondary, tertiary provider, secondary and tertiary service provider. Basically, more than 70% are engaged in the government, and rest are either primary or the tertiary sector. And this is some of the initiative which we have already taken, which I would say this is smart in terms of urban planning perspective. Like how in the left side you can see how the Gangtok used to be. It's basically old, picture, but still there used to be a taxi stand before, and now right in the right of the screen you can see this is totally 100% non-vehicular street, and it has really enhanced the air quality, and it has reduced noise level, and it has really enhanced the real estate value of the particular area. So after doing this, we have taken this forward and we have adopted this same kind of modalities for the urban design and transformation in other parts of the states, where Namchi is also one of them, which next slide I'll be showing, which will have images of that. So at the beginning, it's like everybody, we work in the real-time situation, where when we come and say we are going to stop the traffic and build something else in it, so generally there will be apprehension from the public. Generally they will say they are going to ruin my business because I will not have access to the place. But now in this case, we face the same thing like all of the cities are facing, encroachment, and of course nobody would like to, move away from the place and relocate the business where they are already doing business, whether it's in good condition or bad condition. But the point is, we had to do really, struggle very hard to convince the people, and finally we managed to do actually first stretch half of the city. It's a main CBD of the Gangtok. We call it MG Mark. So once we did it, then automatically people started feeling the positive impact of the pedestrianization. So, and then suddenly there's a quantum leap in the rental value. At the same time, the real high street retail establishment started appearing in the street, and at the same time there are cases. Then earlier used to be only ground floor and first floor used to be the commercial establishment. Now we can see commercial establishment up to even fourth floor also. So eventually then we took it forward, and there's another stage also covered, and of course there's a one-way traffic is there at the same time. So, and in addition to that, we have this street is fully Wi-Fi free zone, and it's covered by CCTV surveillance, where we have a central command control, which is taken over by the police. So that is what we have already done in. It's kind of smart only in terms of physical perspective and physical planning perspective. And though we need to integrate into the system that is yet to be done, which is smart city is all about. And this is the town which we are talking about in Namchi, which is selected as one of the cities to be developed as smart cities. So in the right side, this used to be the old, Namchi. In fact, it's very old. There was a little bit transformation after that. It was quite congested at the same time. Same time, this is a CBD, Central Business District of the town. And after the Gangtok projects, we started off with the Namchi. It's the same thing, the same multiplier effect. We could see, in the thing, at the beginning, the same thing, people, they had objections. Now we have a beautiful town square where you can just walk around freely and safely. The point is actually, see, we are only second term in the urban local bodies. We are not being able to, sensitize the people in terms of what is their responsibility in terms of paying taxes. We have to actually really motivate the people to pay the even minimum of the fees, because earlier they were not used to that kind of, a situation like where now city has to govern itself. So likewise, now there are so many indicators. We can see that in the right side, this high value hotels has come up, and still there are so many intent has been given by the multinational company where chain like even JW Marriott, Lee Meridian, Hyatt Regency, they have intention to establish themselves in this region, especially in Namche and Gangtok, because there are other enabling factors also. So these are the few initiatives of the government of Sikkim where we see it's a smart. Okay, and most of the things, sir, as sir has rightly put, we are 100% organic state. And other, like in terms of environment, there's a complete ban on the use of plastics and styrofoam-based items through legislation. And ban of use of packaged drinking water in the government functions is now not there anymore. It's a totally banned. And we have a higher literacy rate in urban and rural area as well. And high tele-density, we ranked 13th as per the last report in the rural tele-density. And even we are even higher among the small states and in the northeast and the Himalayan states in terms of urban mobile users. And ease of doing business, we got a PICO, Principal Investment Commissioner's Office, set up at Delhi. It's a basically gateway to enter into Sikkim for the industrial establishment. And we have a very progressive performance in Swachh Bharat mission. As such, we have declared one of the cleanest hill towns in the country. And there are other enabling factors is the lowest crime rate, and the policy. The government is very progressive, and they are ready to adopt the best practices in the governance. Priority is given to the capacity building of the human resources. Either it's a elected or a government employees. And recently, this is now, I think yesterday only, we have new policy has come into place. It's a Sikkim Open Data Acquisition and Accessibility Policy. Recently, the Sikkim Open Data Portal has been inaugurated. So anybody can log into this with the ID, and you can have a data in hands-on data with yourself. So that way, the company or the industry who wants to establish and come into Sikkim, they can have a data in the hands of the state. At the same time, plan accordingly. But however, there are challenges. Why actually we are not being able to capitalize on all the attribute, positive attribute, after having all this kind of positive attribute? Because at the end of the business is related to the economics of scale. And for that, return of investment for any, industry is very important. So I would say the physical environment for the investment perspective is not conducive enough at this moment, because another one is investment will eventually lead to O&M and the cost recovery. So at this moment, it's not financially feasible for the companies to come and tie up, or the scale is not enough for them to, service their cost. But one thing is very sure, we can really, convince our people, and they have shown their willingness to pay, provided they are being given the services. It's like, I would say in very crude way, that hen and egg story. Because first you provide the service, then you can go and, demand the charges or whatever is there. It's like a perform, achieve and trade kind of thing. Another one is, since our ULBs are very new, it's only second term running, it's a 5th or 6th year in the term. So they need lots of capacity building exercise and hand holding, but still they are also very adaptive to capacity building, and they are progressive. So in terms of, our physical planner, at the same time, being in the government for such a long time. So I would say the economics of scale, it's a positive for the company, because you can come and you can showcase your technology. You'll have a conducive environment. You'll have to deal with the lesser people, and at the same time, even if you're not, you can showcase your project as a pilot and doable, and after that you can sell your technology to the other places. Because as long as people, you don't, seeing is believing. I mean, you don't showcase whatever you have in real-time situation, then it's impossible to think. But everything looks rosy in the, as long as it is there in the laptop. Another one is we can take other way, at least your capital will be conserved. How much you will spend, the capital will be secure. Or the company can come and seek the alternative support from the government, or ensure the gap funding. So there are many instruments, financial instruments, where you can really come and work with us, and then at the same time be a part of the smart city endeavor. Otherwise, and at the same time, so this is the right time, I would say this is the right time to come to the Sikkim, because if there's so many factors, enabling factors for the company, work with us, and at the same time, whoever will come, they will be the first, they'll first come, first service issue basis, like what Mayfair has done to the Sikkim. Mayfair was the first hotel chain to establish the 5-star in the Northeast, and they are getting maximum benefit out of it. After that, all the hotel chains, they have started rushing towards the Northeast. After that, you can see the first another hotel has come up in Guwahati, and similarly, JW Marriott, they're coming up in Siliguri. So these are the things. Before that, none of the company, they are reluctant to come into those parts of the country, considering those are not viable business opportunity. So whoever comes first, they will be leveraging the opportunity and tap the rich resources, whatever we have. And last but not the least, actually urban planning in the smart city it's a basic evolving process. It's not the end. And here we are only talking about the major issues, which is many tangible, physical and human. Physical relates to spatial land uses, development control rights, built from urban design and master planning. And the human it's part of the cities. Without them, it's not there. But we'll be talking about the intangible aspect also, which is an aspiration of the people, culture. So that's very important in the urban planning. And that's only as long as you take care of all these three elements, then the smart city mission will never get success. Therefore, smart city is not the smart product, it's a perpetual process and will continue to be so. Thank you.
Mr. G.T. Bhutia and Mr. Naveen Rai for giving very valuable insights to the opportunities for smart cities. And I would like to now invite Mr. Nitin Bhaudaria, Commissioner, Dehradun Municipal Corporation, to come and give his address on the opportunities of smart city. Mr. Nitin Bhaudaria, please.
Everyone, respected dignitaries on the stage, off the stage, and my dear friends. As you've already seen the smart city plans for other cities like Faridabad, Namchi already. So I'll be running through the finer points, and instead of going through the entire presentation in totality, I'll just be touching a few finer points that we are looking at and which I think are relevant from today's discussion. At the onset, I think the time is also short and we are overshot. We are running very late. So, given a small snapshot about what Dehradun is all about, our population is around 6 lakhs now, and we have a major standing in education, social health care and sector. So this is the current situation. We did a current analysis. Not all is well, but we hope to, get it all right. So we did a SWOT analysis to identify what the problem areas were, what the opportunities were. We think, in order to understand our city better, it was imperative that we focus on the opportunities. And, and we leverage them. So we think that Dehradun has a huge potential in terms of turning as a counter-magnet city for NCR region. And in terms of the service, it can emerge as a service hub of the region. So we came up with the vision of our city. Our city we want as an e-city for all, with focus on environment sustainability, economic vibrancy, by leveraging our engaged citizens and infusing technology for proactive governance. This is the citizen engagement process that we followed in the smart city selection process. The key features were define, understand, analyze, prioritize, design, and implement the plan. Our whole proposal was citizen-centric. We wanted to follow a citizen-centric approach for the entire proposal that we had submitted. And we tried to reach maximum number of citizens. We went for a door-to-door surveys. We tried to reach 86, we tried to reach 100%, but we were able to reach 86% of the people in Dehradun through various different mediums, like, newspapers, kiosks, events, workshops, so on and so forth. We had engaged Frost & Sullivan for this process, and from different demographic profiles, we had divided our cities into 4 zones, and from different zones, which zone need to be selected and which zone needed to be taken up. The citizen ratings on different, the shortcomings, top 5 areas, top 5 challenges that Dehradun was facing, and what needs to be done, what areas need to be tackled, were as follows. So ultimately, we got 30,000 votes on the MyGov platform, and 67% people voted for retrofitting of Zone 4. I'd just like to add that in the first phase, we had submitted a greenfield proposal for development of Dehradun. But what we had realized when we had analyzed this success stories of all the 20 cities, that none of the greenfield proposal cities were selected amongst the top 20 cities. Then we had the opportunity to be one of the fast-track cities, but unfortunately, we were 17th in the latest rankings. We'll be submitting a proposal again on 30th. What we also find from the smart city process is that it's like writing an examination and you don't know what you'll get out of it. So you can score anything out of it. And some of the comments that we get are something that if the clarification process takes place, we can really clarify and get them out of the sheet. So because the academicians are analyzing the processes and planners are making it, I think there's some gap, which I think if the interface is given, I think we can work on it. We missed by 2 marks this time. So unlike Namchi, we are also one of the cities we'll be submitting again. So final zone selection was taken up, and the 5 parameters that we thought were critical to working on were sanitation, economy, employment opportunities, education, health, and safety issues. So these were some of the stories. We engaged with the industry, we organized FICCI events, some workshops were organized, technology workshops, finance workshops. We were looking to, the idea was to just get to as many citizens as possible and to address the cities, the issues of the citizens in the correct framework. This is the map of the city, and this is the zone that we selected. So we took up 4,000 acres covering 26 wards, which was actually covering 1/4 of the city. But this time, the latest comment that we've got is we've taken up too much of area, and we were a little more ambitious with our plans. And they want projects which have a visibility till 2019, which could come on ground to be taken up in the first round. So, we'll be working on the proposal again and submitting. So, from an important framework, we've divided our city into 3 critical solutions that need to be implemented. One is the core infra of the city that needs to be worked on. Then the zone 4 that we've selected, what technologies and amenities should be provided in that area, and the pan-city solutions that we have come up. So, dividing into the same services, we've come up that with 10 proposals, and I'll be talking about the proposals soon. So the PAN City solutions that we've come up with are command and control center, because Dehradun is a very mobile savvy city. You know, everybody has a mobile. You know, the people are using mobiles for all transactions. So we felt that Dehradun one is a kind of application that we should work on, and it has to be linked to a kiosk solution. At the end of the day, you know, everything we have to reach the last mile, and the last mile might not have the mobile connectivity. So we have to provide a brick and mortar solution to it as well. A unique solution that we came up with was an intelligent pole. I'll be talking about it later. This is the city nervous center that we want to build and within the urban local body. And these are the various layers that need to be taken care of: the viewing layer, the analytics layer, the decision layer, action layer, so on and so forth. These are the processes that will happen, once we have the city nervous center in place. This is the mobile application that we want to link it onto, and all the parastatal services exclusive of the Nagar Nigam would also come under this one platform that we are trying to build. The intelligent poles that I was talking about, like Vodafone was talking about, providing, on one mobile service for one particular street lighting solution. We want to develop an intelligent pole, which would, of course, apart from giving telecom signals, it would also monitor whatever is happening in the locality in terms of public Wi-Fi provision, in terms of monitoring the, whether the garbage bin, nearest garbage bin is filled or not, what is the pollution quality of the city. It will also have CCTV cameras installed, an underground duct for clearing out the overhead wires, and improve the city aesthetics. So what we are looking at over here is one mobile solution. We have one mobile which is tracking all the services linked to that intelligent pole. These are the public outreach actions that we've tried out. We've engaged with children, walking festivals. We want to start off with some kind of film screenings, and build up a central hub, central art and cultural hub, and community-led driven approach, so that we can incorporate it in our planning process. So these are the projects that we will be taking up. We are looking at taking up a solid waste processing project using plasma gasification technology. This is the latest technology. Underground garbage bins to check the litter problem that I highlighted earlier. We are trying to build 50 community toilets on a biodigester mode. In the transport goal, we are moving away from the diesel buses that we are having, and we're moving to 50 electric buses. Public bike sharing projects, we've already seen 100 e-rickshaws would be taken up. Cycle tracks, pedestrian market area. In the area-based project, we are talking about rejuvenation of 2 parks, solar-powered water ATMs. We're talking about junction renovation, more area for vehicles to operate. We are trying to develop a city clock tower. Ghangtar Ghar is the main center of Dehradun, so we are trying to take up as a heritage project. We want to develop a signage and art for and establish some kind of identity for our city. We are taking up with that project. And in the core infrastructure projects, we are trying to link up with Amrit and converge all the schemes. We are trying to develop a multi-utility duct for our city, so that all the whenever we try and dig and, we dig the roads and then BSNL is down and so on and so forth, we have a multi-utility duct where all the underground services are passing through that duct itself. So these are the goals that we already talked about. This is a plasma gasification technology. These are the underground bins. This is how it will transform into. The transport goal that I had already talked about, these are the electric buses. Public bike sharing projects, this is how our hubs would look like. This is, Dehradun has this, old area which is known as Paltan Bazaar. If anybody's visited Dehradun, they would have seen it's very congested. So this is how we want to pedestrianize the whole area. So this is the current situation in the area. This is our plan for the area. So, we want to build green pathways. We want to build golf carts, because it's a long stretch of, I think, around 3 to 4 kilometers. So we want to introduce golf carts for older people, for people who would require mobility. And this is the cycle tracks that we've talked about. The roads are wide in Dehradun in some areas, so we want to take up, cycle paths. These are the paths. These are the drawings of the paths. This is again the path. Again, same thing. This is the children park in Gandhi Park, which is the main park of Dehradun. We want to take it up for rejuvenation. We're trying to converge, because, there's no infrastructure funding that you could actually do in smart city project. So it would require a lot of convergence to happen between government schemes. And Amrit is the critical, scheme in the urban development area, which can be used for convergence for any kind of construction to happen, for any kinds of infrastructure projects to happen. Amrit is what we are looking at. We're trying to converge the entire area, which is used up for different purposes, into a green belt. This is the center business district. This would be turned into a total green belt here. This is what we plan to have: children boating, meditation and yoga places, polyhouses. So stress is a lot on the environment sustainability here. This is the idea here. And this is the solar powered ATMs, water ATMs that we are talking about. This is the signage project that I talked about. Thank you. Sorry, I just rushed through it. So if anybody has any question or anything, we can take it outside. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you to ILITS for giving me the opportunity. And thank you for listening so patiently. Thank you so much.
Bahadur Commissioner, Dehradun Municipal Corporation, for giving final respects of his initiatives from Dehradun, how to make that into a smart city, and through very important light on various aspects of smart city. May I invite Dr. B.L. Jatawat as last speaker in this panel. He is Executive Director from Rajasthan Urban Drinking Water Sewerage and Infrastructure Corporation Limited. Dr. Jatawat, please.
Respected delegates on the dais, ladies and gentlemen. As you all are aware that Rajasthan is at present the largest state of India, having a population of 7.84 crores. We are having 7 municipal corporations in Rajasthan, and I'm happy to say that out of 7, 2 cities have been selected as a smart city by the Government of India. That is Jaipur and Udaipur. 2 more cities are on the queue, that is Ajmer and Kota. I think that by the end of this month, we will submit the proposal to the Government of India, and that is likely to be approved. We have talked about what is a smart city. City is trying to make itself smarter, connecting the physical infrastructure like that. These are the key components of a smart city: inclusive society, 21st century, transparency and open data like that. The objectives of a smart city mission is to provide basic infrastructure, quality of life, clean and sustainable environment, apply smart solutions, set examples to be replicated both within and outside the smart city. We have 2 types of approach. One is the area-based development and the other one is the pan-city development. The retrofitting is the main module for the development of both the smart cities in Rajasthan. We all know the CT selection process. The most important thing which I want to share with you is that we are already, established SPVs in both the cities. And we have selected two very smart IS officers as CEO of both the company limited. And we have also internationally invited bids for the PMC. Renowned companies have applied like Aptisa, Wapcos, Connectivity, LEA Associate, South Asia, Tata Consultancy. And we are in the process of finalizing it. This is the cost estimates of both the cities. The total base cost we suppose for Jaipur is 2401 crores and for Udaipur is 1221. These are some components, websites, Facebook, Twitter, like that. This is the process by which the cities were selected. You will be surprised to know that the total suggestions received, we received more than 1 lakh suggestions while the selection process. So far the Jaipur is concerned, as you all know that Jaipur is a very big history and a long heritage and as a tourist destination. So our main focus is on the heritage and tourism conservation. And likewise for Udaipur. For area-based proposals like safety of citizens, air quality monitoring and mobile app enabling citizens to report street problems, information and electronic delivery via smart kiosk, public Wi-Fi zone, water management, smart metering. This is Pan City solution. For use across Jaipur Metro, we have Jaipur City Transport Limited, a bus company. Solid waste management. As my friend, Commissioner of Ghaziabad, saying that now in future, the 2-3 problems, and one of the major problems is the disposal of solid waste management. Other one is the transport, and third one is the environment. So every municipal body is facing this problem, how to dispose the waste. I want to share 2 more things. We have started doorstep collections in Jaipur city. We have installed CCTV cameras in the Jaipur city as well as in the Udaipur city. But as one of my friends was saying that audit of the cameras is very important. So we will also work on this. That's all. Thank you very much. And I also want to give my thanks to the elites and all the partners who has organized such a nice summit. Thank you.
Good for your views on the various elements of smart city. Well, this brings us to an end of this particular panel discussion. May I now request Mayor Greater Warangal, Shri N. Narendra, to give away mementos to the speakers, please. Mayor Greater Warangal. Firstly, to Mr. Nitin Baudoria, starting from left, Commissioner, Dehradun Municipal Corporation. Mr. Vipul Kamra, Fire Eye. Mr. G.T. Bhutia, Secretary, Government of Sikkim. Mr. Naveen Rai, Joint Chief Architect, Government of Sikkim. Dr. Jatawat, Executive Director, Rutsikko. May I now request Mr. G.T. Bhutia, Secretary, Government of Sikkim, to give a memento to respected Mayor Greater Warangal. Thank you so much. Can we have a group photograph, please? With your mementos. Kindly come in forward. Thank you. Thank you, all the persons, all the panelists on the dais.